Welcome back to the Blue North. Today I'd like to talk a little bit about what's going on the United States southern border. You can come up with all kinds of fancy names. You can come up with a name. You could say that oh my gosh, there's a surge down at the border. Or you can say that there's a crisis at the border, but that isn't the right term. It's chaos. You have thousands upon thousands of people living under a bridge. You have people being bused and flown all over to red Republican areas so that Joe Biden can maybe stand a better chance in 2024 because those red states maybe turned blue because Joe Biden and Harris are now offering amnesty, and the Democrats are pushing for amnesty for these hundreds of thousands of illegal crossings that have happened over the last 7 months. 7 months. People have been flooding into the country at a ridiculous rate, and there's nothing there. So the Democrats are pretending that they're fighting for amnesty. Ilhan Omar actually said that they shouldn't even go through the House and the Senate in case it doesn't pass. They just want them through. You imagine a Republican saying, don't worry about the checks and balances that the United States have in place so that people like Ilhan Omar and Joe Biden don't just get whatever they want, and Chuck Schumer. That's why we have the House and the Senate, or they do. I'm Canadian, but I can critique from afar. But we here have a Senate. We have multiple checks and balances. We have more than two parties that'll keep, it should keep us honest. But in the United States, they do have a lot of similar checks and balances. And could you imagine somebody saying on either side of the border, don't use them, go around them. You're the president or the prime minister. You just do whatever you want. Well, that's insanity. That's not, nobody should have that power in government anywhere. That's closer to dictatorship than it is governance. So what's going on at the southern border is Texas has finally just had enough. They're not throwing their hands up in the air and saying we're defeated. No, they said get on a horse, get in a car, get in a truck, whatever you got to do, get down there and confront these people and stop them. And that's what they're doing. And of course, there's confrontation because the people coming in, they think we've got amnesty on the other side of this border. We got to get it. So can you blame them? No, they're being spoon-fed this lie by the Democrats. And how do you know it's a lie? Take a look at San Francisco. California, a sanctuary state, San Francisco, a sanctuary city. And they believed the people that are living under the plastic and hazmat-clad people coming in daily to hose the human feces off the street, those people living under the plastic, they thought that they were going to get amnesty. They thought they had hope. They were filled with hope that this new life was awaiting them in San Francisco, but nothing was there. There's nothing there. They're living on a street. I don't know how they're eating. I don't know how they're doing anything, but I can tell you quite honestly, there's zero hope there. And that's the same with those people under the bridge in Texas and being bused and flown all over the country. There's zero hope. And the ones in the facility that was once deemed kids in cages and concentration camp under Trump has now been renamed the fluffy overflow facility by the left and the mainstream media because they're all things left, right? So they give it a new name, but there's zero hope there. Doesn't matter how much of a new name you give, doesn't matter how you try to fluff it up and how much you try to pretend it's not going on, it's worse. There's zero hope. And the left just seems to keep themselves in this bubble of ignorance. Even at the Emmys, the 2021 Emmys, they were more interested in making fun of Mike Pence and a fly that may have landed in his hair while he was doing a speech. That was what they had to focus on. They were make fun of a Republican. But if you look at what's going on in the Democrat White House, you would see that it's nothing more than chaos. Kamala Harris is the least liked vice president, I think, since the 70s, which is, just a couple of years ago, and just a couple of vice presidents ago. This is insanity what's going on in that White House. Chaos across right across the board. Joe Biden's withdrawal from Afghanistan is very similar to the same tactic that he's taking at the southern border. He isn't using common sense. He has zero plan, and he's just not addressing anything. So what he did was he drew out all of his military, pretty much, and left all of the interpreters and American citizens that helped and were training the Afghan army and military, left $80 billion worth of equipment behind. But equipment is equipment. That's what, like, big deal. You left them that. You were going to give it to the Afghan army anyways, right? But now it's in the hands of the enemy because you withdrew so fast and so ridiculous that you left American citizens that are still there, by the way, that are still being hunted down by the Taliban, that are still being murdered by the Taliban and punished by the Taliban. You left all that, but they now have all that equipment, which who cares about equipment, really? It's the people. You can't replace a life. Once a life has been snuffed out, it's been snuffed out. It's gone. These people put their lives on the line and helped the Americans and helped because they thought there was going to be change. They thought that there was going to be a better day ahead. There wasn't. There is nothing that can be done to bring these people back now. The ones that have been killed, like the 13 servicemen and women that went over there, they had to be flown back in to help because you made such a mistake, and then they were attacked and killed. It breaks my heart that these people, husbands, wives, fathers, mothers, lost their children. Yes, they signed up. They signed up to protect their country and to protect other people and to do what's right. They signed up to be in harm's way for everybody's betterment. But how it was utilized and how it was planned and everything else, or the lack of a plan, is what cost them their life senselessly. It didn't need to happen because of your ineptness. It's just heartbreaking. But that's the same thing that's happening at the southern border. It's like you're not listening to the people that are telling you what needs to be done or how it needs to be done. It's like you're just trying so desperately to push through the Democrat agenda that you're not even understanding what it's costing. You can make fun of Trump's 4 years because the media did so much to make him look bad. But if you thought about the 4 years that Trump was in power, the unemployment was great. It was the lowest in history for the blacks and Hispanics. Then you had ISIS and all the terrorists in that region quiet, waiting for a weak president like Joe Biden before they come back out of their hiding and attack. Well, they weren't going to do it with a strong president like Trump. Well, I'll take a president like that any day, or a prime minister, somebody that it puts the fear into the people that know they want to do wrong in this world. That southern border was under control. And you know what? The people that were wanting to come into the country were being, they had to follow the rules. You had to go through the vetting process. You have to go through the proper channels. What's wrong with that? Nothing. But flooding the country with illegals and just now all these people are stuck in limbo, waiting to just see what's going to happen. Well, there's no hope coming. Not right now, because he's not even addressing it. All he's doing is, let's use these people and put them where we can use them as a vote to bring down the Republican vote. We can use these people, tell them that we're going to give them amnesty. Well, it's chaos. And I'm really beside myself with how Biden has, 7 months. That's the crazy part of this whole thing is it's only been 7 months. And Afghanistan and the border and Ilhan Omar and the likes trying to constantly say, just do what you want. Don't worry about this. It's dictatorship, which was funny because they tried to make Trump look like a dictator and he wasn't. But the mainstream media and the left and the Democrat Party and everything else, they conspired to just create this awful image on a constant basis all day long. And it worked, I guess. But here you have what you wanted, and now the country is in shambles in a 7-month period. There's 3 years, just over 3 years left of Joe Biden's presidency. If he's made such a terrible mess of things after 7 months, could you imagine 2 years? By the time he's done his presidency, his first term, I'm terrified to see what the United States is going to look like. But you know what? Hit that subscribe, follow along, and follow with me as I continue to follow Joe Biden's failures. And if you want, pick up my book, Decency and Deception, Encouragement for a Struggling Nation. It's available on Amazon, and it's available at Barnes & Noble. Pick a copy up. I describe in there much of what I talk about on my YouTube channel, Decency and Deception. It's a failure for the Democrats. Stay tuned for more podcasts right here on the Blue North.